book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about some backlist series that are on my TBR. If you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. And this week's topic is purely inspired by the fact that I feel like a lot of us have some backlist that's on our TBRs. But on here, my channel, I wanted to talk about some backlist series that were on my TBR because I tend to collect series the most. So that explains why I'm talking about series, but everyone is free to talk about whatever backlist books they have on their TBR. I feel like as of recently, I have been prioritizing a lot of new releases, and like that's not a bad thing, but when you have a backlog of backlist books on your TBR, that's when it gets a little bit difficult. So not only do I want to track them, but also I kind of just want to remind myself that I've got a bunch of other books that I need to get to as well. Not really need to, but like I could find a new favorite. Sometimes I look to new releases for new favorites, but I have to remember I've got a backlist where I can find a favorite. I ended up coming up with 10 series on this list, so I guess without further ado, I'm gonna get stuck into these and let you guys know what backlist series are on my TBR. So first of all, I'm gonna mention the Sherlock Holmes series by Brittany Cavallaro. I'm pretty sure I put this on my May TBR this year and I never got to it, and the reason why is because May was just a very interesting reading month. I really just mood read the entire month. Pretty sure majority, if not all, of my TBR that I allocated that month was not touched. That's just how it happened to be. The Sherlock Holmes series is definitely a series that I do want to get to. At the moment, I'm just in a big fantasy romance kick, and before that, I was very much into a contemporary mood. And this is very different from both those genres because this is more like a young adult mystery because it's essentially inspired by Sherlock Holmes. I need to work out a time when I am in the mood to read this book series, but personally, I don't want to force myself to read this book series because I just want to enjoy it and not think about the fact that I'm forcing myself to read it. So I need to read it sometime, but at the very same time, I'm just really waiting for the time to do so. Another book series that I put on multiple TBRs is The Covenant Saga by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now, at this time that I'm filming, I'm not in the mood to read another Jennifer L. Armentrout series. I recently read the Lux series, but what I've noticed every single time I've been going into Jennifer L. Armentrout's books, or at least her books that aren't the Blood and Ash series, I tend to go into her book series wanting the depth of the From Blood and Ash series. I mean, in a sense that, you know, the romance will go that deep. And I've noticed that in a lot of her other book series, they don't necessarily do that. I think The War of Two Queens also was kind of lacking in that as well. I've noticed that with Jennifer L. Armentrout's books. Only as of recently. In terms of romance, her books are catered more toward a young adult audience because a lot of the time they seem to be a lot more vanilla than our old cover schemes make her series seem. That's what I've noticed. It's not necessarily that that's turning me off from Jennifer L. Armentrout's series. I think with her backlist series, I look for the depth that we experience in the Blood and Ash series, or at least the first 3 books, and A Shadow in the Ember. But I mean, I didn't really get that with the Lux series, and I didn't get that with the Dark Element series. However, out of those 2, I did enjoy the Lux series. So I'm hoping that I might just enjoy the Covenant Saga, but right now I'm just currently lowering my expectations and seeing whether I'm going to enjoy it more at the level of the Lux series than the Blood and Ash series. And the next backlist book series that I bring up is a backlist book series that I am intimidated by, but I do want to read it, and I do want to try it out, and I don't want the previous book in this series to affect my reading experience of Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I have talked about previously how I don't like The Beauty of Darkness. I don't like the direction of that series, and while we are following a new couple in this series, I still feel really angry at the direction of the romance and how unhealthy it was in the final book in the previous trilogy. And the reason why I haven't picked this duology up yet is because I don't want those feelings to affect my reading experience of this duology. I hear from some people that this duology is better than the original Remnant Chronicles. However, I did enjoy the way that the Remnant Chronicles was told. I enjoyed the Remnant Chronicles up until the final book. I'm sincerely wanting to give Mary E. Pearson another shot because I reckon that she's a good writer. She just really made a huge mistake in the final book in the Remnant Chronicles, but I'm gonna see how this series goes eventually. I'm really nervous about it, I'm not gonna lie, but I do want to give it a shot. The next book I gotta bring up is a second book in this series, and that, my friends, is The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra Clare Claire and Wesley Chu. This is the second book in the Eldest Curses series. I did read the first book ages ago, but I have not yet read the second book, and I believe that this is probably the only Cassandra Clare book in the Shadowhunters universe that I have not yet read. And the reason why I have not yet read it is because I've been putting it off until the final book comes out, and the final book doesn't even have a release date yet. I really need to stop putting it off, and I actually need to get to this book because I hear great things about this second book, and I really loved the first book. It was a really good side adventure in the Shadowhunters world. I have definitely been putting it off because I just want to kind of read it closer to the final book, and I didn't realize that the final book was going to be pushed back another year. I actually thought that it was going to come out last year. Joke's on me. And another backlist book series that I need to read is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I hear mixed things about this series, and for good reason. I hear that the final book is not that great. However, the final book sets up for Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart so badly. However, I don't want to do that without knowing the full story of Caraval, because I bet that that is going to have the best payoff. When I read Once Upon a Broken Heart, I almost had the audacity to start Once Upon a Broken Heart, but alas I didn't, because common sense got the better of me. I want to see what was foreshadowed in this series to eventually get to Once Upon a Broken Heart. Caraval is a book series that I've been putting off for a while. I didn't love the first book the first time I read it. I've probably forgotten majority of the story now. However, I'm kind of curious only because I have motivation to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. And the next backlist book series I really need to pick up and I need to stop putting off is the Shattered Realms series by Cinda Williams-Chimer. There's something that happens at the very beginning of this book series that made me immediately put it down. I love the Seven Realms series, but something devastating happens at the very beginning of the series and I was not prepared for it, and honestly it hurt me as a Seven Realms fan. But this is how Cinda Williams-Chimer intended to tell the story. So I might see if I should potentially just like skip the first chapter or the prologue or whatever and just try to move on with my life and try to move on with the series. Still really sad and very bitter over what Cinda Williams-Chimer did. Like literally at the beginning of this novel, she wrote more books within this world, within this universe. You know what? As a Seven Realms fan, I'm so thankful she dedicated her time to this world. Now I just need to dedicate my time to reading this book series no matter how much I'm intimidated and no matter how much I'm bitter with the decision that Cinda Williams-Chimer made at the very beginning of the series. And the next backlist series that I've got to bring up is also an ongoing series, but technically these books only come out every few years. The book series I am talking about is the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. I remember really enjoying the Bone Season when I first read it. I understand why a lot of people say that it's like very slow. However, I am satisfied with the outcome of the first book and I really did want to continue on with the series. However, it is very dense, so that's probably why I did not continue on with the series so far. However, I want to change that. I do want to get back into the series. I don't know whether I want to reread the Bone Season or not. I feel like I remember enough to know what the series is still about. I reckon that I might go straight into the Mime Order, but we'll see. Maybe I might change my mind as time passes. Maybe I will be so far removed from the first book that all of a sudden I need to reread the first book in order to continue on. But what I do know is that I do want to continue on with this series because I did love the first book, I did love the world building, and I cannot wait to see what is going to happen next in this world. And the next backlist book series that I have to bring up is the Shatter Me series, or the Juliet Chronicles by Tahara Mafi. So you guys might be wondering, what Jeespers, haven't you finished the series? And the answer is no, I have not finished the series. How many books have I actually read in the series? I've read 5 out of the 6. However, it has been years since I read book 5 and years since I read book 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. So what I'm gonna do before I read book 6 is reread the entire series in the lead up to book 6 and then also probably read the novellas. I do want to experience this series in its fullest. Even though this book series is technically for a younger target demographic, I started this book series 6 years ago. I read the initial trilogy when I was 20 years old. I'm now 26, going on 27 soon. And I feel like no matter how old I get, I will always be drawn to this series. So I want to give it a go. Again, I want to reread the books leading up to the 6th book and then complete the series. I just really hope that I'm going to enjoy my reading experience. I'm not really expecting too much out of it. However, I just want it to be a fun time. The second last backlist book series I have to bring up that is on my TBR is the Winternight trilogy by Catherine Arden. I loved the first book when I read it last year and I did not continue on with the series, but I need to. And don't hold me to it, but being that it is winter currently in Australia, it might just be a very good idea for me to read these books because I was reading the first book in summer of last year. I mean, I was hot, but I was just feeling the chills while reading the first book, and I don't know, maybe right now might just be the perfect time to pick this book series up. I'm not gonna lie, I know that these books stand out on my shelf as like some of the prettiest books that I own. However, I keep on forgetting that I own this series. I need to change that. I need to remind myself this series is on my TBR and I finally have to read it / finish it. So I guess I gotta make them happen sometime and let you guys know how I go with them eventually. And the final backlist book series that I have on this TBR today is the Bone Witch trilogy by Rin Chupeco. Now, I read the first book sometime last year, I believe, or 2 years ago. I read the Bone Witch 2 years ago now. What? I'm pretty sure I remember a bunch from this book. However, I think I need to reread it and I need to read it with fresh eyes. So technically, Camillo put this on my TBR 2 years ago. He actually purchased the paperback of this series, and then when I saw Lumicrate all of a sudden advertise it and say that they were going to do a special edition, I was like, shut up and take my money. I also thought to myself, look, I mean, the Bone Witch, the first book was okay. I mean, I could see its build up and how amazing it would like eventually be if I continued on, but I don't know why I justified buying an entire special edition set. But I told myself if I bought the special edition set, I would read the special edition set. So that's what I gotta do now. Essentially, I need to read this trilogy in order to justify my spending habits. But also, the first book I could see build up to an amazing and explosive series, and I hear that the rest of the series is just so good, but the first book's just like a build up and an origin story. So I want to reread the first book and continue on with the rest of the series and let you guys know how I go with it, and who knows, I might just find a new favorite in the Bone Witch trilogy. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the smiley face with the rosy cheeks emoji. The reason why I bring that up is because I've been standing in front of the heater during the day, so I have rosy cheeks. Right now, I just remind myself of that emoji, so leave that emoji down below if you stayed to the end. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social media. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also at Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/GSwizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Thought it I would have, and I flipped it in a double. Thought it I would have, and I flipped it in a double.